let's see how it accelerates. Oh, wow. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be doing a driving comparison between the all-new 2022 Acura MDX, and we're gonna compare it to the 2020 Acura MDX. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to Jody Wilkinson Acura for giving me some time with both of the MDXs. Check out their inventory link below. Let's get straight into the video. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the 2020 Acura MDX. So first off, visibility over the hood, pretty decent. It's pretty much average for an SUV in this segment. There's your visibility through both of the mirrors. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. There's a little bit of a blind spot back there, but overall it's not bad at all. And that all being said, let's set off. Well, we are setting off here in the 2020 MDX, and yes, we are using this for our driving comparison video as well, and we're driving the 2020 first so that I can really feel the difference between this and the 2022, and like go from obviously the older one to the newer one, because the newer one's supposed to have all the improvements. First off, from a ride quality perspective, definitely can feel quite a bit happening underneath us on the road. It's not rough by any means, but I mean, this road's pretty beat up and you can feel it through the suspension. And if you guys are wondering, I am just in the, let's go into the comfort mode for the drive mode. So I'm in the comfort mode, but yeah, you can definitely feel quite a bit. From a noise perspective, it's really well insulated. You really don't hear a whole lot, so it's doing good on that side of things. The steering's very, very light. The one thing I am noticing is these the gauges, looking at them, they definitely feel old school. We'll get a partial acceleration here. Decent torque and everything from the V6. The gear shifts are actually relatively quick. Now we're going to pop it into the manual mode, and then we'll pop it over into the sport mode as well. So we're in S, manual mode, sport mode. We are in all of the sporty driving modes, and let's see how it accelerates. Gonna have to slow down because there's a guy jaywalking. But yeah, the gear shifts are actually relatively quick. The downshifts definitely take a second, but the upshifts are relatively quick with this 9-speed automatic. It'll be pretty interesting to drive this back to back with that new 10-speed, because that new 10-speed's really sharp. But yeah, I can definitely feel a difference with this compared to the 10-speed. And from an acceleration standpoint, it's pretty quick. I'll see if I can actually perceive a difference in acceleration once we get into the newer MDX. But let's basically finish things up with the 2020 MDX. So first off, from an exterior aesthetics perspective, I feel like it's a pretty good looking vehicle from the outside. I'm actually gonna, so if you hold down the plus paddle, then it'll pop it back into the automatic mode. Just gonna do that and we'll let this person go by. But yeah, I think it's a good looking vehicle from the outside. Interior perspective, doesn't look nearly as nice as the new one, but I mean, it still has a nice interior. The steering wheel feels nice. The seats are pretty comfortable. Not as comfortable as the new one, again. And then in terms of the driving, definitely you feel quite a bit through the suspension with the MDX. Like I wouldn't necessarily call it a rough ride, but you can feel what's happening on the pavement with the older MDX. With this 2020, you can feel everything that's happening through the suspension, all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely something to be aware of. The steering's very light, doesn't really have a sporty feel, just kind of feels like a normal third row SUV. And I hope it doesn't sound like I'm like talking bad on this vehicle. This is a very well put together vehicle, but compared to the new one, that's why I'm being so critical of this. Is the new one is so good that it makes the old one look bad, even though the old one is such a good vehicle. And yeah, I mean, I still think it's worth looking into a 2020 MDX, but if you have the cash, I would definitely still look into the 2022 as well, because yeah, it's like a night and day difference in terms of the interior, the driving, everything. And well, if this is the review on the 2020 MDX, see you guys. If you're watching the driving comparison between this and the 2022, then let's go hop in the 2022 and see how that drives. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the 2022 MDX before we set off. So visibility of the hood is actually pretty good. It feels pretty much the same as the older MDX. I love the leather dash on this. There's your visibility through both of the mirrors. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear, which is actually better than the old MDX. So we went on visibility too, but let's set off. So we are setting off here in the 2022 MDX, and oh boy, driving these things back to back, you can feel such a big difference between the 2020 and the 2022. So first off, driving on the same exact road, it is crazy how much nicer the suspension is on the newer one. It doesn't get nearly as upset as the old one. Like it just feels a little bit more planted, and yeah, you still can hear and somewhat feel what's happening on the road, but not nearly as much as the previous MDX. So definitely nicer from a ride quality standpoint. And then the insulation in the cabin is really nice, and Lamborghini Urus, it's always fun seeing those. But yeah, really well insulated here in the cabin. Definitely feels a little bit more luxury than the previous MDX, and the last one's not bad by any means. It's just nicer. Now we just have it in the automatic mode, and we are going to get like a partial acceleration here with the new one, and see how that 10-speed kind of does at low speeds. So I mean, same power figures, and they weigh about the same, so I can't really feel an acceleration difference between both of them, at least in that mode. But I am going to pop it over into the S mode, sport mode, and then we are in the manual mode as well. And then we are going to be getting our full-blown acceleration here with the new MDX. Oh wow, huge difference with the transmission. That 9-speed's not bad at all. Like the 9-speed's a good transmission, but this 10-speed, it's just the shifts, the downshifts way crisper, the upshifts quicker, smoother. Just it's a better transmission. I mean, that's all I really need to say. Better transmission, hands down. Like there is no competition between the 10-speed and the 9-speed. The 10-speed's better. But from like the actual like oomph off the line, I can't perceive a difference. I can just feel a difference in the transmission. One thing I do want to mention is the steering wheel feels way nicer in the 2022. Like the grips on the steering wheel and everything, like where your fingers rest and everything, this feels nicer. It actually feels like more like the steering wheel feels like more driver focused. So like the other steering wheel just felt like a nice leather steering wheel. This one, I feel like the grips are perfect for me to do like fun, sporty driving. So this kind of feels nicer, and the turn-in on this is a lot nicer too. Like this just feels sportier in pretty much every single way. And that'll get me to summing things up with the 2022 MDX. So from the exterior perspective, looks beautiful. I love the new MDX. Definitely has a nice futuristic look to it. And then from an interior perspective, they've definitely brought up the interior a ton. The interior materials are way nicer than the 2020 MDX. So this just looks a lot nicer. From an interior perspective, performance, the acceleration feels about the same, but the transmission feels smoother, feels quicker. And on road, it feels nicer. Like everything about this feels nicer, and it makes sense because it's a whole new vehicle pretty much compared to the 2020. And so yeah, I love this 2022, and I need to do more reviews like this where I compare whenever like car manufacturers have like a whole new vehicle come out, where I compare the old to the new, because this just shows me how much Acura has improved the new MDX. Like it is a night and day difference. This drives better, it feels better, like it feels like more of a performance SUV. The other MDX, the 2020, feels like a nice like luxury SUV. This feels like a nice luxury performance SUV. So yeah, I mean, final thoughts on the new MDX. I think it's definitely worth the price premium over the old one. And yeah, if this is the MDX review for the 2022, then see you guys. And if this is the MDX review where we're comparing this to the 2020 driving impressions, then let's I guess get into finalizing things. Now that is going to sum things up for our driving comparison, comparing the 2022 Acura MDX to the 2020 Acura MDX. And obviously we do have to pick a winner for today's video, so the one I'm going to pick for today's video is going to be the 2022 Acura MDX. The 10-speed automatic transmission is just so much smoother, it drives smoother, it just feels like nicer overall. And I mean, it's only $3,000 more than the older MDX, so like I definitely think it's worth it. So yes, the new one wins the driving comparison. As always though, a huge shout out and thank you to Jody Wilkinson Acura for giving me some time with both of the MDXs. Check out the inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.